Monica is another student that I had a couple of years ago in a class. She's very, very thoughtful, and everything that she did in class, all of her projects were exceptionally good. And so I had anticipated having her be a part of this last year, and I actually got around to asking her this year. So thank you for saying yes to this, Monica. Monica Ghali is a Des Moines native. After working in the nonprofit sector for many years, she moved to Omaha and began studying design, art, and any other creative discipline that people would let her try. Now she is studying to get her nursing degree. Apparently the design thing really didn't work out. Nursing is way more important anyway, with the hopes of combining the two in the future. She loves maps, big earrings, and Amy Poehler. Monica Ghali.
This is a story without any heroes, but rather a tale of people facing their fear-os. It's a story about boys who get to grow up. It's a story about old men who get to brush up on their oomph. Our tale begins on the darkest of nights, consumed with the flurry, bright and merry with lights. The reds and the blues and the yellows and greens all set the stage for our Christmas time scene. On a street like any other, there's a house full of kin and a brother spinning webs about a neighbor man's sins. As they hurried and rushed, they did not take heed of a boy we'll call Kevin and all of his needs. He was forgotten and it was rotten. With no support and constant fighting, one boy's fear turned to defiance. His family irked, called him, "You little jerk." And so that night before he dreamed, he made a wish he'd be freed. Lo and behold, when he awoke, gone was his family just as he hoped. Little did he know that just outside a feud was brewing with Harry and Marv. Under the glow of the bright white luna, unbeknownst to Kevin, they gazed upon their silver tuna. Then a light came on, much to their surprise. Little did they know this was the beginning of their demise. Our boy, our Kevin, man of the house, took on the chores that he'd espoused. Went to the store with hood uplifted, hoped he'd be safe from those that grifted. Alone at last, it was a joy, at least for a little while. It was just then the fear crept back in as he realized going it alone can feel quite thin. He rocked around the Christmas tree with cardboard friends to make them see, but still that fear, it's real. And those bad guys, who knows? What was their deal? So in that moment, Kevin went for a trip to visit his buddy, our old pal, St. Nick. Then he swung by the church, saying prayers in packs, and what he said in both places, "I just want my family back." Remember how earlier his brother recalled a neighbor whose past would make any skin crawl? There he was in the church, another fear to besmirch. He approached, Kevin trembled. "There's a lot of things out there, but none of them true, so next time you see me, remember, I'm human too." Meanwhile, Harry and Marv, tortured souls it would seem, underestimated the potential of one pint-sized being. Those wet bandits with confidence were ready to slay, but Kev took care of himself in the cleverest way. Still, in the end, it was the fear he befriended that saved him from having his too short life ended. Old man Marley, the neighbor, came through for his friend. It's nice to have someone on whom you can depend. Still, his family he missed, and he hoped they'd appear, and that Santa and the reindeer would kick it into gear. That dark Christmas Eve, in the bed as he laid, he remembered Marley's words, "You don't have to be afraid. It's never too late to let go of your fear. If you turn on the light, it's no big deal." And then, in the morning, as the sun rose above, Kevin hopped to the floor with a heart full of love. Mom rushed to the door, having faced fears of her own, to embrace here dear Kevin, relieved to find him safely at home. Kevin smiled to himself as the house filled with noise, and he saw out the window Marley also filled with joy. Because in this world of our story, boys mess up and they still get to grow up. Old men make mistakes and they get second chances. Mothers leave their children at home alone and get to hug them in the end anyway. Maybe where we live, we aren't quite there, but let's hope, like Kevin, that a change is in the air. So the process is my first question was where to begin. Honestly, when Joe asked me to do this, I was terrified. And so I had to figure out if I even wanted to do it, and that led to pushing past the fear. My mantra for the year was, it's all practice. And so with that in mind, I decided, okay, I can do this if it's practice. So this is practice, standing in front of people and painting and trying to put words together. The next question was, what would be my discipline? I asked Joe, what do you want me to do? And he said, well, whatever you do. And so I've been trying to figure out what I do, which is a lot of different things that I've tried out, and now I'm interested in how art and design and healthcare intersect. So that's what we're trying now. So my first step after that was to watch the movie, like I did as a kid, without an agenda, because that was another part of it that was really hard, was just to like get started on the project. And every time I tried to sit down to watch it, I thought, okay, I have to come up with this great idea. So watching the movie without any agenda was great. It was really fun, actually. Hadn't done that in a while. And then I watched it to try to really understand the story. And you guys, these people, they were brilliant. I mean, the story is so well, I mean, everything happened. The phone lines went out, and the electricity, and the timing, and the rushing. It's incredibly smart. Like, there's no holes in that story, except for the fact that the kid was alone for that long. The next step was to spend too much time on IMDb, which was amazing, actually, because I love fandom. Like, I love people who really love things. I think they're amazing, and I'm kind of, they're like, these are my people. There are people on IMDb that are like really into Home Alone, and they have like questions like, how did Kevin get the ice off the porch before his parents got home? You know, like things. And then there's like long extended answers. People are like really like, yes, this is a good question, and here's the answer. So then I just sort of threw all the ideas, and so I was kind of, my presentation ended up being sort of a mishmash of all of these things, which is kind of, for me, what I've been discovering is like, I want to touch all of the things, and I want to kind of be a whole person that explores all the different creative parts. So I identified the central theme, which for me was, there was a lot of like, Kevin was afraid to pack his bag. Like, that's how this whole thing started. And then, you know, he got upset, and his parents, and his mom was afraid she left something, all that. Even Harry and Marv were like, you know, afraid of not having too much, if you want to get really philosophical about the whole thing. So then it was time to get to it. I just set up my boards and my colors and just started watching the movie and putting color on the paper as I watched to kind of see what came out and what colors felt like they responded. And that's kind of how I ended up with what I ended up with. To include the elements like title, easy, nailed it. The McAllister house, aka the silver tuna, was like the silver house with kind of scales on it and the light coming on. Harry and Marv was the blue slide for the wet bandits. And then the last slide for me was kind of a bright, there was an orange spot on it that represented Kevin's transformation. So